What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Copy Narrate, and today's stories come from r/MaliciousCompliance. And today's first story by Savage Jimmy 85. All orders must be connected within 3 days or escalate. Sure thing, boss. I use the manage the activations department for an ISP. I wouldn't say I manage the team, as my style is they worked with me, not for me. I was simply the department's leader. For some context, the company had been growing for quite some time, but unfortunately not hiring enough staff to cover the growth. I started in the support department before being moved to this position after the entire old activations team quit. Due to the small world it is in the ISP space, in my country I'll keep things a little vague, but some background is required. The old team of 3 plus the manager used to have one person work on the oldest tickets in their queue, plus 2 on the newest tickets, keep things moving. Being interrupted by calls, walk-ups, messages, the manager would handle billing and cancellations. The same ticket would often get handled by multiple agents in a day, often the same agent multiple times too. Almost every day, they were all doing unpaid overtime. We're all salaried employees. To handle the overspill from support throughout the night. When they quit, they had about 1,000 orders, tickets. Complaints were common, but not outrageous. I knew that was unsustainable given the growth and acquisitions. By the time the story is relevant, we had over 3,000 tickets and almost no complaints, with the same number of less experienced staff. Put that number in a little more perspective, that was 2 to 3 times as many tickets as every other department combined. We made many changes over the time, and I became an expert in the back end of the ticket system. But the biggest change was we changed our workflow to a priority system, and everything now had a due date. All new tickets had a due date of the day they came in. If the customer wanted their connection on a different date, and the pre-check showed no tech was required, that became the new due date. If a tech was needed, the appointment became the due date. If the customer emailed us against their ticket, or any update happened to the ticket, the due date was changed automatically from whatever it was to today, so we could be across the departments as customer request dates and tech dates could be months into the future. Suddenly, the age of the ticket didn't matter, just the due date, and this reduced so much double handling, and customer updates were responded to quickly and calls dropped significantly. Now stick with me as all this becomes relevant. My priorities were handle the cancellations and billing. When done, I followed the same priority as the team unless I was in meetings. Team's priorities were, oversimplified, 1. Get new orders and relocations, vetted, hex booked, and set applicable due dates. 2. Activate the completed orders or update the customer, tech, and due date if there were issues. 3. Important. Escalate overdue orders and follow up escalations due date. 4. Activate voice orders. 5. Finally, everything else that was due today. It became a well-oiled machine. The escalations were maybe 0.5 to 1% of our orders. As we had so few complaints and typically raving positive reviews from our customers, the general manager didn't really understand how we worked, or the depth of the changes that made us so efficient. My daily report was usually skipped in the end of their meetings. As we had minimal issues, he focused on the other departments. The way we worked now meant that tech issues or appointment issues were also escalated and resolved quickly, as nothing slipped through the cracks anymore. The internet wholesaler worked really well with us, as we set clear expectations with our customers, and we always had great data to back up the escalation process. Our most remote customers who had to wait long times for techs completely understood. Usually a tech was taking a chartered bush flight out there, followed by some off-road driving to get to the customer to get a satellite internet connection installed. These customers were often hundreds of kilometers from the nearest town and understood the logistics that would be involved and the waiting periods. Very rarely was this an issue. Now, while we had so many orders coming in, we had just as many, usually more some days, customers cancelling their services. largely due to the long support wait times or poor quality support response emails. This meant the general manager was panicking about our record showing we were losing customers to the board and shareholders. In front of everyone, he had a massive yelling fit directed at me about the company's negative growth, and this was my fault, and I need to have every customer connected within 3 days, or else we escalate it. We have too many orders not connected. No more excuses from the wholesaler. Did I mention they were great and moved heaven and earth for us? Escalating these and getting them connected was our #1 priority. To follow them up daily, he's had enough of my team slacking off, etc. Everyone's jaws around me dropped. They knew we weren't perfect, but we were the smoothest running department in the company. I saw red and took a breath. That's fine. Cue malicious compliance. After that public dressing down, I immediately sent him an email confirming what he just said. I got it back in writing. Texts take longer than 3 days. Those orders and escalations become our #1 priority. He didn't say business days, so I sat with my team and informed them that our ticket queue is going to be in a world of hurt. But we need to make it clear to him that he doesn't understand how we work, what we do, and that where he spoke to us was inappropriate. They are not to stress about the numbers. They are not to do unpaid overtime. I don't really care that they are on a salary. Salary accounts for reasonable overtime, and this is not reasonable. They are to end work when their shift ends. Do not accept time off in lieu. Only accept paid overtime. I will take the fallout. They aren't paid to be stressed. Most days we have to work on about 300 tickets total, and today was a Friday. Customer not getting connected until Tuesday? Well, that's 4 days, escalate. Customer roads impassable due to floods, so tech has to wait for dry weather? Too bad, escalate. We escalated about 50 new orders that day, which meant Monday we had the usual weekend and Monday orders, plus those 50. That day over 100 new orders were escalated, plus the 50 followed up, so our queue reflected we had about 450 tickets due. Less than a third of new connections got connected, even though a tech wasn't needed. Next day the same thing, except only a handful of orders got connected. Now we had 600 tickets overdue. By Thursday, support's being hammered by people asking about their connections. Overdue tickets hit the thousands, wait times blew out, orders got cancelled, complaints got raised. Come the next Monday, the support managers were screaming at me to get my department in order. I directed them to the general manager. A meeting was called with all department managers over the current state the business found themselves in. When I was asked what was going on, I simply pointed to the email, referenced the dressing down my team got, and informed him I was simply following orders. That's ridiculous. Use your brain. You should know what should be escalated. I pointed out that I thought I did, right up until you screamed at me in front of the entire company and belittled me and my team. You made it clear I have no idea what I'm doing and to do what you say. He informed me to go back to the way we operated, and he will review my workflows in detail at a later date. I tried to say it won't be that simple. We need to follow the escalation through with wholesale. Getting our queue back in order will take weeks. He wasn't having it. No, the new orders were our #1 priority again. Get people connected. I again moved to object, but another angry outburst informing me to do as he says. Cue malicious compliance round 2. And another follow-up email confirming. We stopped following up the escalations as we had too many new order tickets to process. By the end of the week, the wholesaler called an emergency meeting with our company board. A meeting I was not a part of. They were threatening to pull our wholesale agreement due to the escalated orders not in line with their matrix, and we had inundated their staff also. Not only that, we were no longer keeping up our end of the bargain following them up. This wholesaler was where a significant majority of our customers were fed from. After this meeting finished, I was pulled from my seat to explain myself to the board. Emails prepared, and with the support and sales managers with me for support and as witnesses, I explained the above. I was cleared to leave. The fallout. My team and I were given a blank check for overtime to get us back in order. Unfortunately, no other staff from other team could assist in a meaningful way, but my team were only too happy to put in as many hours of paid overtime the workplace laws would allow. The company also supplied dinners. It ended up taking us over 6 weeks to undo the damage the general manager had us caused with the overtime. The wholesaler also reduced the remuneration we got paid, as they no longer considered us a top-tier ISP. My reports were no longer skimmed, and the general manager sat with me often to understand how we worked and complimented me on the innovations from my team's suggestions. He also didn't order me around like that again, but more asked for input before making recommendations. We also did get our top-tier ranking back eventually. And just wow, OP. That malicious compliance. Just wow. See, managers, like, if you're a general manager, you have to know how each department runs, and you can't just run roughshod over them. I mean, like, OP hindsight were in that situation, but good on you, OP, getting that in written writing to cover your back, as you knew how bad this was gonna go, and, you know, you tried to explain it to him, but he didn't want to listen, you know? This is why the it's my way or the highway approach just doesn't work in business. Because stuff like this happens, where you think you know better than your staff, and you almost ruin your entire company. But I do feel sorry for that wholesaler, because that must not have been fun for them to have all these calls and all this backlog, and this entire staff and team just stressed out from what's going on at another company that's affecting them. Our next story comes from Grim Spirit 42. Forced work closing, not so much. Way back in the day, I, like many, delivered pizza to make additional money while in college. Not a high-end place, let's call it prestige. The manager was an okay guy, the assistant manager, not so much. Total B. The only requirement I had working there was I would not work nights before exams. This was usually not a problem. One day was looking especially busy, and the manager asked me if I could work the night before a final exam. As he was okay, I agreed as long as he scheduled me for early shift, not closing. He agreed. Assistant B was in charge that night, and she absolutely hated to close. So first thing when I walk in, she stated, "Grim Spirit 42, you're closing tonight." I replied, "No, that was not the agreement. I will be working early shift as I have an exam tomorrow." Assistant B, "Sorry, but you don't have a choice in the matter." Me? I don't? Nope. Me? You'd be wrong in that, and proceeded to take off my shirt, threw it behind the counter, and left with the final, "I'm out of here." After I arrived home, shirtless, I received a frantic call from the manager as to why I quit. This was pre-cell phone. I regaled him with the Assistant B's orders, and he begged me to come back, and said he will notify Assistant B that 1, I would be the first one off, and 2, she would be closing. Assistant B didn't even deign to speak to me for weeks. No big loss. Epilogue. I eventually graduated and went on to other jobs. About 5 to 6 years later, I run into the manager, and we greet each other, and talk about what's been going on. During the following exchange, "Me, whatever happened to Assistant B? She was a real biatch." Manager, "Well, I married her." Me, "Oops, I'm sorry I said that, but we never got along." Manager, "Nope, you were right the first time." That's a wonderful bit of malicious compliance there. The fact that you just straight up just noped out there like, "Oh, I can't quit, can I? Oh, let's see about that, shall we? You sure? You really sure?" I feel sorry for that manager, because it does not sound like he's happy 5 to 6 years later with that marriage. But hey, congratulations on graduating, OP. Don't throw off your groove. You've got it. Roughly a year and change ago, I was brand new at my current job. I'm at a point where I've got fair grasp of how things work, but still have stuff to learn. I'm just going along doing stuff, then I start doing some things my co-worker usually does. Not thinking much of it in the moment, but he has an Emperor Cusco-esque meltdown when I come back to grab some more supplies. He's going on about how I'm doing his stuff and throwing off his groove. He actually said his rhythm, but in keeping with the Cusco imagery, I had to write groove instead. I'm just thinking, okay, that was dumb, but okay, you got it. From that point on, unless I'm specifically asked to by the boss, I don't do a single thing I see him regularly doing, even on the days where he's off. But I still work. It should be noted that the things I'm intentionally skipping are hardly things that would throw off the operation of the store. Stocking the deli with cooler, with Lunchables, sandwiches, etc., refilling the pastry display, and Windexing the windows and sneeze guards. Last I heard, he's still crying to management about how he's the only one who does these things. I never hear anything from anyone about not doing them. Beware the groove. And let's go to this comment, which is from Demolisher, and they say, "How dare you be a helpful and considerate colleague?" /sarcasm. And Kabaru replies to that with, "Right? I don't know about you, but if someone's willing to give me extra time to chill at the register and generally not do a lot, I'll let them." And that's a fair point. Like, why make your life more difficult? I actually don't get why this guy wasn't like, "Hey man, thanks for that. Thanks for helping with those things." Instead he's like, "Oh, complain about you're doing my stuff." And then he wonders why no one helps him. Dude, no one helps you because every time you do, you scream at them and say, "Don't you do my things." But yeah, LP, ignore that guy. If he wants to make his life harder, instead of chilling out for 5 minutes instead of having to run about, let him do it. Let him do it. More power to him. Go on, let him do it. This next story comes from Mean Sheep Herder 3637. Change my phone wallpaper. Okay. I had a picture of a snake as my phone wallpaper, and my father was not pleased. He asked me to change my wallpaper, so I did. A few days later, I was at church with my father, standing in a circle with all of his church friends. I got out my phone on full brightness and switched it onto a wallpaper of a bikini girl. I looked forward after a while and saw some of his friends looking at me. Back home, my father was a bit pissed, but more amused than anything. I wonder what your father's friends were thinking when they saw that. Oh, I wish we could get a commentary of what was going through their minds. I'm glad your dad took it well though. But yeah, hey, he said he didn't like snakes, so you changed it. Guess he'll never complain about your wallpaper again. Our next story comes from Knuckle Pants. Clean the paint pots. Okay. In high school, I got a detention with the art teacher and had to stay behind after class for an hour. UK. Our punishment was to clean the 6 art palettes. They'd been used and abused for years on end, each student putting in a new colour of paint over the various other dried colours until the recesses were almost non-existent. Cleaning these palettes was the assignment, so okay, that's what I did. The other students cleaned out the freshest, wettest paint and put them back by the handful. I went to town on one palette, scraping and scrubbing and brushing for almost a full hour until the original plastic was visible and the palette appeared brand new. Teacher came in after the hour to check on our progress and was shocked when she saw how clean my one was compared to the other students' 15. She did laugh though and took it all well and couldn't complain as that was the assignment. I used that palette for the rest of my art class. Edit. So everybody's saying it's not malicious. I did what she said, but not what she meant. That seems okay for this sub to me. And good on you, OP. You took that assignment seriously. But let's hop into the comments and see what some commenters say. Those complain about this not being malicious. OP had their punishment to clean paint pots for an hour. OP chose to thoroughly clean one paint pot in that hour rather than the intended/expected 15 going by their peers. Y'all need to chill. And someone else says, yeah, this OP reminded me of a family story about my brother and sister. They were taught to peel potatoes for supper. My brother suggested a competition to see who could peel the most. Sure enough, my super competitive sister furiously peeled potato after potato, while my brother slowly and meticulously peeled one or two. Oh, I do love it in the comment section when you get stories like that. Oh, that brother sounds brilliant. He's just like, yeah, let's have a competition. No, and his sister would be like, down to like, I'm gonna beat my brother. And he's just like stood in the corner, like slowly chilling, like peeling like 1-2 potatoes, while his sister's done like 15 or something.